As Laura said, she has not heard me read in a very long time. I have not read or written in a very long time, pretty much like since the pandemic, so I'm going to do a bunch of older stuff tonight, and I hope you like it. So these first poems are from my book, Crossing Bryan Ferry and Other Poems, put out by Lavender Ink Press. Thank you, Bill. Many, many years ago. Blue roses are blooming in Safeway. Oracle asses were tickled by gas plumes. We know now. What of it? Ethylene, case closed, diminished, return to sender. Send her, erato, echo, glossolalia, babble, bury, shovel, stop. I, decline. To state, to play, so there, repeat. Blue roses are blooming in Safeway. Champagne ruby is slang for magnum. Artaud's black crucifix pupils ablaze in golden eyes I plagiarized because I want to see so badly, but I gotta walk past flooded lottos, plainclothes cutlasses, dinner, linner, fourth meal, dunch, neologisms like I am a woman, half-eaten mosquitoes, and teardrop Mike wanting guilty date a guilty beer because all American women drink and don't have any Mexican friends. Animist, manimal, my keys do not break. There are escalators in my head, watering flower beds with ropes of crystal spit, burping ready-made, Rubbermaid green baby coffins, smoking Christmas in a jaundiced sky. Over beef tea and sheepish mirrors, defective Alexandrines tell me it gets easier with practice, hurts a little less each time. Like so much decapitated obsidian, we know not now how high the ledge is, very high. This crisis not of poetry, but concrete, and well, since Pythia choked on the geyser, she's gone now. My hair caught on fire. Please tune my viola. I know a few songs from when I was a child. Stardust Memories, yes. I can play that piece quite well. To cause defendant to sell drugs in this state, Brenneman kept changing the destination. Meeting place finally agreed on, Whiffletree Bar. Supplier, a man known as Zorch. Brenneman, a young man with unsavory drug history, admitted telling defendant he was struck with such force as to knock him out of a chair, kicked, cut. The cop threatened to shoot him. They swear that he fell in trouble. Amphetamines, sedatives, hallucinogens, marijuana, and heroin. State line designated by crumbled stone marker. Victim turned informant 15 miles north. Plastic bag beneath his shirt with non-narcotic substance. In the not unlikely event of a rip-off, one never gets exactly what they've asked for. Thank you. In Manhattan's attic, I rush the stairs like a caffeinated asterisk, rattle dinner plates in bas relief. This is a room of miniature dioramas, Acropolis, Big Ben, Valley of the Kings, demurely lit in obsessive detail. Very few people know it exists. In this attic, I am giant. This attic has a sky. With satin hammer, rowdy letters, I shatter glass partitions swinging between story and a secret. Someday the Eiffel Tower will be mine.
Nice. Yeah.
Thank you. All right. I wasn't going to do this one, but I changed my mind. Wendy O. Williams. Whenever Wendy O. Williams spat on stage, our bruises and our stomach aches grew dim. She was a blade from hospital to war, chain bikini and chainsaw slim. And she was throbbing impulse of sweet 16, and she was always satisfying needs, but still she shattered pulses when she screamed, "Why are all our heroes dead?" And she was impact, yes, wrecker set for kill. And pinprick schooled and all possessed, we thought that she was desecration. She made us wish that we were in her place. So on we failed and waited for the faint, and went without the gasp, and cursed the soggy beds. And Wendy O. Williams, one vitreous April, went to the woods and fed her favorite squirrels, lay on a rock, and put a bullet in her head.
Yeah.
Almost unkillable. Silver day, so much to remember, so little to say. The bar is long and thick, sinuous. Murder when they're drunk, an exclamation. Press for tender in a book like flowers. Give my love to, anyone.
Yeah.
Caravan's tower is very unique. It is white and hollow and conceals a special Da Vinci-like machine. When La Cavagna blows, the wind courses through the tower, animating the machine, so the tower of wind becomes a tower of music. Fog and cafe. Chipped, slender windows, them bells, bathtubs, laptops announce cardamom and quickly exit. Balzac mimics with many embraces, rice cubes, absinthe, boys, Edith Piaf, girdles, bone lace, fog-filled rubies, with cocked doors, with entree, talk pours, coffee, how drunk, in all, sugar, with and in, by heavy, hanging in, talk pours. December answers. I told you not to worry. You'll have fuel, you'll have food through winter, though you'll have to ration, be rational. Don't burn your mittens. There are spare mittens. For your sore throat, warm whiskey and honey. This is Christmas for a broken door. To muffle the sirens, here is a scarf. Fasten the ends on top, double knot. Don't move. There is still something missing. Thank you. Bedtime wish for a lost San Francisco. Safe home to Faux Girl, Daddy Fernando in buttery chaps, Virginia the tamale lady, Rabbit Tipsy in her tattered cashmere wrap, Frank Chu impeaching world leaders for crimes in 12 galaxies, Hussein and his hot pink Ganesh. May the stripper make enough for a cab, may the cab driver be a gentleman, may the stripper make enough to tip him well. DJ, dog walker, Ohio exile, midnight trolley driver, look out for each other and all the birds, mostly pigeons, pecking stale breadcrumbs beside old men on Market Street. Sailors, some of them drunk and asleep in their boots, eating hot meals in long dead kitchens, seducing girlfriends forever 17. Perhaps one of them, 1 in a million, catches tigers in red weather. And of course you, holding this, with your eyes, in your mind. Sweet dreams, wherever you've left your heart. Oh, thank you guys, you're super great. So I'm gonna read a couple of passages from my second book, The Year is Sunday, which is a lyric memoir. It came out in 2018, and it is about me and my mother. And I once heard one author, I can't remember who it was, said, when I read about you and your mother, I don't want to read about you and your mother, I want to read about me and my mother. So I kind of wrote this book sort of with that in mind. And it starts out with the epigram, "We wake from your dream with a wolf at the door, reaching out for Veronica," which is by Elvis Costello. I'm 32 years old, failed at living fast and dying pretty. I've got t-shirts, jeans, hoodies, socks, and underwear stuffed into a backpack, all black. I make a phone call. Then I pluck 5 fine silver roots from my temples, not out of vanity, but fascination that these things came out of my head. I dye the rest compromise black. I flew to Boston alone when I was 3 days old. Flight attendants cooed. I slept the whole time. A few weeks later, my mother's doctor said she was better. My father asked for me back from his parents. I flew back. She wasn't better. She gave me away while my father was at work. I was missing for 2 weeks, and there are numerous versions of how I was found. When I was found, he asked his parents if they could watch me for a little longer, until she was really better. They said if they took me again, I would stay. When I returned to Boston, I was sensitive to sound. Telephones and tinfoil were chainsaws in my baby's skull. I scan my credit card, grab my boarding pass, unzip my boots. I give my ID and the pass to the agent. He matches the names. "Thank you, ma'am. Have a nice flight." When I had a blue and purple mohawk, lip rings, and a leather jacket, I get searched all the time. They said it was random, but it was clear they were looking for drugs. I used to get searched. Now I get ma'amed. I don't have a preference because they both suck pretty hard. It's very simple. We're your parents. When anyone asks, that's what you say. My grandparents became my parents, my uncles and father my brothers. Around close friends, I call them my brunkles, except for my father, who's bio-dad. Bio-dad sounds like a chrome exoskeleton and rocket pack. Bio-dad sounds like a comic book superhero. Bio Dad is a doughy man with a portable oxygen tank, no memory of his first 2 wives, and a deteriorated left ventricle. He actually has a hole in his heart. He spends his days building antennas and drinking colloidal silver. Seriously. He makes it by the gallon. The first time I saw him in 12 years, he insisted I take home a jug. The second time, he tried to give me a set of self-hypnosis tapes. Both times, he wore the same Veg Fest, good food, healthy living t-shirt, and blue drawstring sweatpants. Both times, I refused. I could tell he was hurt, but I didn't want to drink his silver Kool-Aid. In refusing, I realized I wasn't afraid of him. I was afraid of becoming him. All right. Thank you guys so much. I have some copies of this available in the back if you're interested in hearing where this goes.
Something, I guess, to warm us up a little bit. This is just called the Fires song. I love just lighting a fire in the backyard and just chilling with the dogs. So this is just kind of me enjoying my happy place. So that's it. Sweet, smoky air clouds, heat on my thighs, flames whipping wild, wooden strands of hair tangling themselves into a heap of controlled chaos. Staring into any one of the fire's eyes can share its millennia of memories as moments of meditation from past man to present humanity to unseen or knownness. Through all creation's span, earth has borne us, water renewing us, wind guiding us, fire bringing us security, solace, and sanctuary. Together man rises as smoke in the wind, crashing as embers into the earth, or drowning beneath extinguishing waves, bowed and bent over water's powerful blows. Yet the energy of it all is never destroyed, rebirthing revolution, invigorating reciprocity, give and take of and or from yourself. It is all the same, to be reaped in one evolution or in another. The differences will weave themselves into patterns both indistinguishable and unique. From a tree limb snapping, of mighty trunks crashing, the crick, crack, woof, boom of wood tendons distressed in past and present tenses, indistinguishable in sound but unique in breed. See now, simmer in the blaze, extract the earth's cure. Flee from abandoning the flame, rather absorb its strength until it glows again, but from within like breath. Take flight as a new fancy. Fuel the fire until the fire fuels you, varnishes your natural finish. An explosion of charred embers erupt. Night air interrupts the vision and the cycle shifts. And on the cusp of a new perspective, the fire snares. It licks that sting kind of like a kick, but it's all lip. To read some of my older stuff. I feel like this is one of my more recent ones, and I feel like they're very disjointed, but I feel like it's part of coming out of a period where everything was so disjointed. So that being just wanted to read, I'll start off with, this one's called Melting Crock Pot. Thoughts in my head, laying in my bed, can't help but dread, always climbing into this bed. I'm wearing out my shoe tread on untreaded pathways, not meant to have been tread or led on, but I've already begun this trek head on, and I've gone too far to now start dropping bread on this full-fledged, treaded on bed of downers, and hey, Gretel's still got a hold on her head, although already run out of breath. The feds stole the flowers, so she's venging back for bread, even if it cost red. Too many have already been bled, or turned red, yet they didn't make their own bed. They had no chance. But it's now the only bed we've been left with it, so we've wept in it and kept laying in it. Kids kept playing tag and hit, going crazy, throwing fits, plowing rows of wits while sewing, gnashing teeth and tits like horses with no bits, rearing up like dogs been bit, tearing hell up like they never learned to sit. Standing tall, they're rising up now. Got the ivory tower appalled, They find it so surprising, it seems, but wait till they see the uprising. Rebellion is turning up all over, as are some high-powered lies of theirs. They'd better for once take another look down on us, because we're emerging from underground this time like spies. Wholly defied, they've turned us against each other to divide far and wide. The uppercut is angled, and so face to fist begins. The powers that be can't for long keep stifling the masses. We're trifling with their minds now. They don't even know what's about to come through. Whoever all is now the who's who will soon enough be coming unglued. Sure, they'll adapt and sap the rage, retake over the stage, but we won't, no can't. Forget how far we've gotten, how far we've got. They can quell the beast, but that doesn't make it removed. We'll save up our truths and hide them in the tongues of our shoes. Next time, they won't even be able to tell when our tongues are getting loose. We'll be echoing their praise, uttering superlatives all over these supremely human relatives. But be weary of time, my fellow revolutionaries. While we're speaking the truths they made for us to be true, let us not forget to actually educate our youth. In the blink of an eye, our race of justice can be erased. And before we realize it, the doctor's out, and then the virus goes boo. They've turned false to true, veggies to fruits, senators to snoots, presidents to poots, and all will woo down the loo like a pocket full of rosies to posies of cultural clues, to cuckoos, Baptists to baboons, Lutherans to loonies, from what they taught us when they bought us, and from the stores of locked up knowledge. In their dirty pockets, they're supposed to teach us in college, but they've abolished the truth, so far down, too far down, buried our roots. They'll keep crack whack, and the pack will only stack higher against the crackdown. That way, when they crack down, their stacks triple, and the cracker downers get the ripple effect of success. All thanks to the cracker jackers and their fellow cracker backers, because when these yellow jackers go down to sting, they lose their stingers to get the sting, and the rings and the bling and your wings. You think you can now be king, but ruling the world only comes to the fools that'll twirl to the twists and turns, which the city on the hill of the world whirls and winds them through. But it's never through. It never comes through. It only makes you go through and keep going through until going gets tough and the rowing underweighs the towing. Once the tow comes and the rowers have lost all that could have been won, the rowers have nowhere to go to catch a break or catch a spare, get a break. The tide will keep crashing, the wind will keep bashing, and the eyes of the world will be laughing as it deals you a good mashing. So remember, brethren, to keep our collective lessons well learned, deep in your brains, blocked off so they can't sneak in and change it, or try and take it or replace it. Let them keep repeating their rhetorical rhetoric, but keep convincing them that you're snorkeling it. But keep your truths split. Take their hits and their punches, but don't abandon your hunches. Yes, they are conquerors, but victory lies elsewhere. Their capture was only such because our strength wasn't yet a factor. But once it was, the intel of our predicament only entered in all the faster. And so remember that, sons and daughters, when the blaring speakers announce our collective presence in this so-called happily ever after, with ponies and pastors and cronies and masters and phonies and actors, remember where you stand, bent over backwards with odds stacked till we're stooped completely over in lack. Meanwhile, they sit up in a child-proofed high chair, looking down at all the blank stares as we look up the sides, finding that there are no stairs to climb. That was, I remember vaguely when I wrote that, but I will say that it's from high school, and I didn't know what I was writing about at the time, and then, some proofing and, looking back at it, some things kind of, I guess the one thing was where the virus goes boo. I was like, that seems a little inappropriate now, but I think we're past it. We're trying. I'd like to read To Whom Wields the Power, which is one that's actually, it's been written the past couple years. I feel like time's just always fluid. It doesn't really matter. Everything just matters when it does. So, whose house is now a prison, to whom this concerns? The omens have arisen, demons swarm amid cell walls. So be warned by my waning. The fire is warm, but it still burns like heat among embers. The sun still burns in December. From the womb to the world, angels and devils have a common home. In the heart, in the mind, they have a rightful claim to roam, to mold palates, desires, to impress or oppress senses wired, allotting them powers of their own, so to whom has the throne. Ring proverbial heads and necks around the facts, leaving more than enough slack in the noose as to not get worn out on lyrical laps, trapped by sentences handed down. Be careful, little words, what you mean, for what you intend may lie far from the scream, the yell, the whisper. Delivery may linger, but don't overestimate the singer, to whom wanders unguarded. The muses are there to confuse and misuse, but don't get caught in their perfumed rancor, and be careful, little eyes, what you seek, for you may find what lies beyond the stone. Roll it back, but be cautious, little hands, what you hone, what you make. The potter may own the clay, but be wary of what the matter creates, what it stores. New wine and old skins break, and wisdom and fools won't take. Ankles and chains chafe, so to whom holds the key. Keep close to your beholder. Sensory depravity feeds into passivity, and inactivity leads one into captivity. Thin lines lie between warden and prisoner, so be careful, little feet, not to stray too close to innocence, nor too far from dissidence. So to whom is concerned, spirits on both sides lie in wait, shrouded as masters of none. Maintain the loyalty of your faculties. Guard your heart, steady your mind. The eternal soul is your anchor. It's so quiet and peaceful here. I'm used to New Orleans, you hear like cars honking or somebody getting hit or something.
Yeah.
It's so peaceful.
We're out in the country.
All right. I believe I'd like to kind of just wind down on this time of mourning, and it's MOURNING. But you can hear whatever you want. Okay. A frail framework of a reality, housed atop a freshly burst balloon. No air blows, no water flows through these disjointed valleys of cracked skulls and broken bones. There is no better time for mourning. A thin body wearing a smile withers amidst brush and ash. First cries too quickly fade, yet the hearth scorches faster. Her body is lost, and the morning still rises. A faceless mass lies unseen. Earth's bedrock cradles contours, and sand slides with time, gritting beneath fingernails. A cursed basin of infinity. Heaven is too full for mourning. A father draped in a spiritless figure. A mother shrouded in faithlessness. Swollen eye sockets carried like 2 8-balls in a single pocket. Trenches dug for posterity, but there is no safety when morning comes. A porcelain face turned solid, youth frozen before its murderous shatter. No stone goes unturned until it's too heavy to handle. First and final shots ring out, and there is no time for mourning. I don't know why I got like here, but yeah.
All right.
The second horrible thing, the fourth horrible thing I'm going to do is I'm going to read high buns. High buns are prose poems followed by a haiku. And I'm sorry about that. All right.
You had me at proud.
He didn't handle the isolation like other people. Sure, everyone was a little frazzled. Everyone was taking up absurd hobbies. Many of us developed little tics. James started with music. He would turn on his radio and listen to a bit of Zydeco, then turn on his laptop's playlists and listen to pop music at the same time. After a while, he began curating the songs, matching the songs in his collection to whatever came on the radio. He had switched to the R&B station by that point. Soon, he fired up his desktop and added a third song. By then, he was spending all his time matching songs to one another, organizing 3-minute symphonies of competing melodies and complementary lyrics. We don't know when he stopped sleeping, and he was far from the only one who gave up basic hygiene. But as his eating veered junkier, and his songs grew more melodramatic, his vision blurred, his fingers numbed, and his senses narrowed into one mission of perpetual discord. The walls are blistered, sweat spreads and puddles upward. No need for escape. Oh, it's too depressing.
It's just right.
It's just right? Okay. Laura wants me to read it. Once a week, the nurse climbs a steep set of stone stairs up to an iron gate concealing a narrow, rotting wooden door. Once inside, she tiptoes her way between the low-slung coffee table and the overstuffed thrift store couch, ignoring the hospital bed on the other side of the room. The gas heater whispers mercilessly. The radio clicks on by remote. Her patient sits next to her and removes his shirt. He has lost weight since their last appointment. She removes the tape and bandage across his abdomen. Underneath the bandage is the tube that extrudes from his left lung. Because he is losing weight, the tube extrudes further than it did last week. If it is too tight across his ribs, it is extremely visible through his skin and causes him pain. She hooks a blue plastic bottle to the tube, then slowly loosens the tube's clamp, allowing lung fluid to rush through the tube and into the bottle. As the weeks roll on, the fluid becomes less yellow and more red. Crowded furniture. Zydeco plays helplessly. Steady drip of blood. I had a neighbor and we became friends, and I spent a lot of time watching him die. So here we go. He swore that mortality was not the issue. Poets plan to die at 30, he said, drink to die at 40, and should they live past 50, think of nothing but their legacy. Poets are unprepared to live a long life, and when they do, they ignore trends of aesthetic and morality, becoming hopelessly out of touch. Imagine the poet who prepares to live rather than die. I try to humor him, but I see his skin sprouting liver spots as he speaks. His hair disappears downward. His flesh fossilizes into something painful, then something beyond pain. He grows louder, more agitated. I hear him arguing with a dying sun. Choose to age in place, speak of the comforts of home, change your own bedpan. He briefly studies with the witches, but they tire of his single-mindedness and self-absorption, and then suggest he look inward elsewhere. He studies the tantric mysteries, but bound by his earthly greed, misunderstands them entirely. He hopes for the transmutation of the quotidian into the extraordinary, but takes that which is dynamic and lusts for something merely noble. Surrounded by our most evocative pleasures, he scoffs in frustration, asking us, where is the gold in this? Food is not metal. The alchemist's plastic rage does not rouse pity. When you wave goodbye, little red streaks linger in the air, tracing the memory of your fingers. The sun glints hard off the train, rendering everything too bright, but the train is oddly colorless, slipping in and out of vision like a twinkling sun. Unburdened by luggage, you board slowly, but don't look back. The platform is crowded, but no one makes a sound. Sooner than later, time running like bathwater, this space will clear out. I'm not bathing in blood, but it's certainly not water either that covers my eyes and flirts with the edges of my nostrils. The texture is soothing enough, but concerns nag me. I don't remember how or why I got here, let alone whether I was headed towards cleanliness or filth. I reach for the edge of the spacious tub and find a full pint of amber. I look around for my traditional bath time book but find nothing. I do not feel lost, but I clearly am. Liquids feel like gas. Sud film clings to my cracked skin. Bubbles take me down. I have no idea what that was about. Hold on, maybe? I don't know.
I'm gonna get him help.
You told me that my memory was uneconomical, that my meanderings were worse than pointless. I sang your name, and at first you loved it, but I couldn't stop switching musical meloos mid-syllable until you shut me down and shut the radio on. You found a station without improvisation, where even the ads were predictable odes to dentistry and debt relief. I kept bebop time to every word you spoke. You told me that jazz helps you relax. Sullen memories. I pin your calves from below. Church bells condemn me. I couldn't understand why Subway didn't have mushrooms. So I called the corporate office and asked. The person who answered the phone didn't know, which didn't surprise me, so I asked to be transferred to someone who might know. Eventually, I got to talk with the vice president of Subway. She told me they didn't have mushrooms because mushrooms have too short a shelf life. I said, thank you. That's all I wanted to know. Too young for gray beards, we found ways to burn eggs and ate scorched tater tots. I have no idea where Roz is, so I'm not I think she took the timer and left. So.
This is where we die.
Right? Yeah, we'll be here a while. All right, I'll do one more. It wasn't love that kept us warm exactly, but it wasn't anything carnal or cerebral either. We spent most of those days on the ceiling, which was odd because the gravity was particularly heavy and the floor would pull so strongly. Perhaps we got the ceiling and the floor confused. Perhaps it was the ketamine.
Oh my goodness.
No, there was no ketamine. It was hunger. It was hunger and hunger's hangovers, there in the small silent room in the belly of the land that forgot it was a lake. Echoes of drowning, cold sheets with pink skeletons, runny nose sickles. Thank you.
All right, so the first poem, I'm going to read a couple from, I'm going to gesture at both of you. Thank you for having us in your lovely bookstore. There we go. I'm going to read some poems from Hush, and then move on to some newer stuff. I have exactly 5 copies on that chair. If anyone would like to buy one, they're $10. I am currently unemployed, so if you could help a sister out, I'd appreciate it. I have like 7 job interviews next week. It's fine. We'll be okay. All right. So, this first poem is called Self-Portrait with My Sister's Will. Last spring, my sister called. Phone pinned between my ear and shoulder, I heard. We listed you as Ela's guardian. The compost crumbled in my hands, fell in soft sucking plops, bombing my baby tomatoes into trimbles. Are you sure? I asked, set my gloves aside and rose to lean against the papaya tree, its soft bark pressing into my spine like my sister's hands once did when we used to play cops and robbers. She always let me get away. Yes, her stern, hard voice. My response, okay, like a glass bowl breaking, splintered and sharp. Since that day, I find myself imagining the future. A 4-year-old pulled from the smolder of bent aluminum. It will happen slow, no, maybe tragic fast. too quick to buy a second bed. So we will sleep in layers, my body a foundation for her small frame. Between us, there's not enough sheets and the bed shrinks. When she's sleeping, I will slip from our bed to rub clean Honeycrisp apples, pack fruit gummies and rainbow crackers, the companions for her new daycare. No, her new elementary school. We'll twist her hair, clip in pink plastic butterflies. Revel in their noisy clinks, young girl as wind chime. Pin feather poofs over each ear. Someday, maybe, she will forget and call me Mommy. But when the tears come, she will smooth my tangled hair and tell me, hush. This is the second of a couple self-portrait poems in this little chapbook. This one's called Self-Portrait as Godmother. As the moon rises, I lift him from the crib, his fingers curling around my hair, pulled by the whims of his dreams. My feet in soft shag, he swathes my swaying hips, lays his head on my chest. Humming Moonlight Sonata, I press my lips to his cradle cap. The moon is high as I, knowing soon he will rise, seek my side, lay him down again. I sweep hair from his eyes, nibble the tip of his ear, and revel in his smile, projected from his nighttime palace. Door cracked, I hear him find the crib's edge, pull himself to stand before his cry breaks midnight hush. My personal call to prayer. We repeat, sleeping child, sleepless caregiver, midnight snack maker, monster under the bed slayer, permanently stained purveyor of wooden blocks, perpetual peeker of those hidden booths. I lift him from the crib. The moon sets. Because is it a poetry reading if no one talks about the moon? All right. This is the last one I'm going to read from this book, and it's one of my favorite poems that I've written, and it was recently accepted. Black Lawrence Press is doing an elegies anthology, and Black Lawrence Press is kind of like a dream journal and publisher, and I always am submitting things to them that they don't ever publish, but they accepted this one, so I'm really excited to be, I'm really excited to be in the anthology. So this one's called Sarasota 2010. The first time was in a barn. He laid me down like a blanket, smoothed me over, my edges tucked, windows wide. I saw the trees sway, heard the horses moan. The April fields of lavender looked lovely, buds ripe, seed ready to spread. Afterwards, he buttoned his pants, told me he loved me. One horse head butted the door, another scratched at the frames. The lavender lifted. I saw all the trees of the field clap their hands. Another plug, it fits perfectly in a stocking. I tested that earlier. All right. Just a couple of new poems for you before you're released into the world of cupcakes and Lipton iced tea in the cooler. Just delicious. Thank you for those refreshments, Jonathan. All right, this poem is called Guy. There was the piano by the door. No, not a piano, a keyboard, a piano. He sang opera songs for fun, for others, professionally, for me, in secret. Played the piano like a cabaret. The piano purely decorative, parts of his ambiance. I told him no. I told him not now. I told him too soon. He hailed from Turkey. He drove a fast car, very slow. He listened to his car better than he listened to me, stroked the car like a cat, a parrot, stroked me like a pet, another fine feathered thing. I told him I'm tired. I told him not without a condom. He purred, he growled, he ran a bath and told me to rest. The water too hot, hundreds of candles, the water cold, me shaking, ripples, the candles wavering. He wet a washcloth and squeezed it over me. He was standing. He was kneeling. He washed me pink. No, that's not how it happened. There were no candles. It was dark. I was cold. He never called again. The next one is called 6 months before I do. 6 months, oh my God, 6 hours before I do. It's a big difference. 6 hours before I do. I felt it coming like a storm. The way one knows a lover is leaving before those words petal lips. A gathering of clouds as consistent and ripe as drumbeat, the snare flicking and bass resounding the call of war. I felt it coming like a storm, its slow but sure creep from behind my knees up my thighs, anchoring my spine. A house of my pelvis. The heartbeat and bruise when pressed with 2 fingers like taking a pulse. And I did what one does, steamed my train, readied party rations, triple-checked the just married carriage. All the while the hoofbeat of disaster. The worried dance before rain, the whites of eyes, spittle. Restless trot, my brain aloof and wiry, you, underbite heavy, offering the bridle. Is my boyfriend here? Okay, good. I'm so glad he's not here. You're like, what do you have to tell me? I just have 2 or 3 more. On the 6-month anniversary of my ex's death, I meet his baby mama. Silence trumpeted like a third person. We said nothing for a few minutes. Grief a string holding us together. Her ribs like teeth on a comb licked the air below her baby doll tee, crowned her swollen belly. I bent down to the headstone, opened my mouth and bit a rosebud clean from its stem, buried the bulb in my body. Sweat squished between my toes. She came towards me. The other woman put her hands on my face. You have no idea, she said to me, what this feels like. She put her hands back on her belly, territory marked in taut flesh. I wanted to touch her too. Imagine the drum-like skin of her stomach, a baby foot keeping time. Sweat danced beneath my breasts. I turned back to the bouquet. She put a soft hand on my shoulder, eyed the scrappy grass sprouts, the packed dirt. I thought of the girl in the fairy tale whose tears turned to seeds, then flowers. We said nothing, just stood. Silence as a third person. Grief stringing us both along. All right. I'm going to end on this one, I think. It's called Birthday. I'll let you all decide if any of this actually happened or not. Mom couldn't feel her feet, but fought her thick tongue to declare me Patricia, named for her mother, already dead. Dad wasn't in the room, having fainted when the doctor decreed me difficult. My legs over my head, so the doctor turned instead to slice my mother open like stubborn fruit. My baby hips bumped my mother's as she tried everything to turn me. A bouncy hour on a medicine ball, another on all fours, every ounce the animal. Sarasota sweltering, early summer, the same hospital my dad will die in 25 years later, almost to the day. The nurse opened the windows after the morning breathed too heavy, coated the windows in gray, wannabe, wash me, fog. My mom didn't notice, continued to grimace in wide knees, child's pose. The sun skirted the thick clouds, delayed rising until my 6-pound frame had been pulled in one swift motion from my mother's splayed womb. Mosquitoes cartwheeled, excited for blood. I did not cry. My dad did not come in, pretended to be interested in the pin Milky Way in the vending machine 3 floors up. My mother snapped to the nurse, give me my fucking baby. President Bush declared global warming an imminent threat. Sarasota County shook off sleep to go golfing. My dad prepped the country club menu from the waiting room, half a Milky Way in the seat next to him. The nurse handed me over. My mom blasted Black Sabbath and promptly fell asleep as the nurse clocked out, slipped outside to catch the express back to siesta for St. Mary's first Sunday service, crossing herself the whole way. Thank you all for having me.